corruption, it's perversion masquerading under the guise of renewal.
Today they've degenerated into a social club for born millionaires and celebrities who use its meetings as an excuse to indulge their jaded sexual appetites.
Mom, do you really want to go and live in that hotel for the winter?
Sure I do. It'll be lots of fun.
What have you done to it? What have you done to its eyes?
He has his father's eyes.
Welcome back, Uncensored Cinephiles fans. It is me and Cutie Bee, also known as Pregnant Bee.
Yeah. Hi.
And we're here to review Network.
Mm-hmm.
The greatest movie about news corporations of all time.
Apart from Anchorman.
No, I think Network was better.
I'm only joking, yes.
Network was a better movie. Anchorman
Yes.
was a better comedy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't think Network can really be described as a comedy. It's like...
It's a documentary about our world.
So, yeah. It's crazy
So.
to think I think it was made in 1975 or 76.
That's right.
1976, and it's
Yes.
like just predicts everything about like the state of media in 2023.
Yeah, basically. So you want to go through the movie and then we'll kind of analyze it as we go, because there's so much in this film.
Of
I feel
course,
like.
yeah.
So it starts out with Mr. Howard Beale.
Yes, and he has been told that basically he's too old school, and they, his ratings have dropped massively. He's a news anchor. He's, quite dull. And people aren't really paying him much attention. And then, he reminisces about the good old days of broadcast journalism. The 1950s with his friend, who is oh gosh, bear with me 2 seconds. Max Schumer, who is played by, is it Robert Duvall? I can't remember, but anyway, him and Max are sort of reminiscing. That's how it begins, and they're talking about like the good old days in the 1950s, and of, then Howard kind of has a breakdown during his like last broadcast, and says that he's going to kill himself.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like at this moment to announce that I will be retiring from this program in 2 weeks' time because of poor ratings. Since this show was the only thing I had going for me in my life, I have decided to kill myself.
So what'd she say?
I'm going to blow my brains out right on this program a week from today.
10 seconds to commercial.
So tune in next Tuesday. That should give the public relations people a week to promote the show. We ought to get a hell of a rating out of that. A 50 share. Easy.
And of course that gets everybody sort of like tuning in.
Mm-hmm.
And he does his famous "I'm mad as hell, I'm not going to take this anymore" speech, And
Yeah. But the Mad as Hell one wasn't the first broadcast.
No,
right?
that was like his first one was like, "Oh, I'm basically going to kill myself."
Yeah.
And then he sort of like goes out and he's like wandering the streets, and then he has like a sort of epiphany, and he goes in and sort of gives his speech, You know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, so the first one where he says he's gonna kill himself.
Yes.
So like he knows he has like bad ratings.
Yeah.
Okay, and then he knows like a way to get ratings is to say some crazy thing like that. And it's really funny because like even when he says it, his own like crew was not paying attention.
In the newsroom, yeah.
Like his show's so boring that they're not even listening.
And then like,
so it slips out there and no one realizes it.
Yeah.
Right.
When you're having a great time.
Did you hear that?
What was that about?
Howard just said he was going to blow his brains out next Tuesday.
What are you talking about?
Didn't you hear him? He just said... Howard just said he was going to kill himself next Tuesday.
What do you mean Howard just said he was going to kill himself next Tuesday?
He was supposed to do a tag on Ron Ness and
He said, tune in next Tuesday, I'm going to shoot myself.
What the hell's going on?
I don't know. He just said he was going to blow his brains out.
What the fuck's going on, Howard? We want to know what the fuck is going on, Howard.
I can't hear you.
Turn the studio mic on.
Which I think is interesting because, you know, there have been cases. I think there was a news reader in sometime in the 1970s, early 1970s, called Christine, can't remember her last name, but she actually killed herself live on air, and it's one of those things which is deemed lost media, so it's never been like released.
Yeah.
People saw it because it happened live on air, so people do recall it, but the tape has been like archived and will never be seen again. But there have been other cases where I think there was a politician or somebody was doing a speech and then took out a revolver and, you know, took their own lives. So I can't remember who it was. It was some senator or someone who got called up on charges, like conspiracy charges sort of thing. It was some political figure. So it is like interesting to think that all this sort of stuff was already existing or had existed or happened, you know, prior to this movie being made. So, you know, I don't know if that's like direct inspiration for the screenwriter, but it's definitely something that, you know, was part of the public consciousness prior to Network being made. But a lot of what the film predicts, you know, is happening in our current society. So I just think it's it's interesting that he's just so boring that nobody really pays him any attention.
And then like he knows like to get the viewers you got to say something dramatic. You see that a lot like with online culture. People say something dramatic like I'm quitting the internet or like I'm, you know, killing my, you know, whatever. They say these crazy things to get views, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
so this happens all the time nowadays.
Yeah,
right?
But nowadays it's like we're so desensitized from it all. We're just like, oh, that's clearly like a ploy to get views, you know?
Yeah. Like, for instance, we're watching JF Garepi because we think he killed his wife. So, like, that's getting him views because everyone thinks he murdered his wife, right? So, allegedly. Like, these are, like, allegedly.
Everything is allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. It is a perfect crime, allegedly.
Yeah.
Anyways, so then he goes out, and you think it's just, like, an epiphany he has? Before he has the big speech that he does?
Well, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think it's some divine sort of intervention or something? Something speaks to him, or? Like...
I think they're like trying to insinuate in the movie that it was like a divine spark that led him to have that like speech that he gave at that time. So like the words are like given to him through like divine intervention, if you will.
I'm imbued with some special spirit. It's not a religious feeling at all. It's a shocking eruption of great electrical energy. I feel vivid and flashing as if suddenly I'd been plugged into some great electromagnetic field. I feel connected to all living things, to flowers, birds, all the animals of the world, and even to some great, unseen, living force, what I think the Hindus call prana. But it's not a breakdown. I've never felt more orderly in my life. It is a shattering and beautiful sensation. It is the exalted flow of the space-time continuum, save that it is spaceless and timeless and of such loveliness. I feel on the verge of some great, ultimate truth.
That's interesting, yeah. I mean, because, most modern interpretations of the movie don't really draw much about the religious aspect of the film.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it, like most film critics, take a very cynical approach to the whole thing.
Of course, yes.
Yes, naturally.
But this is uncensored cinephiles.
No, I know. So we
go where the other critics won't.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, it's interesting because obviously he's not really, although we know we've been introduced to him, he doesn't seem like the type of, he seems like a very straight man, you know, like
mm-hmm.
not the sort of, it's not very passionate in terms of like, he's not, you just get the impression that he's not really paid any attention to the world around him.
Yeah.
Even though he's like, you know, a newscaster.
Mm-hmm.
He's just there to read the news. He's not there to like.
Yeah, and I think when he has
or anything,
the divine intervention thing, I think he doesn't even think it's that really. Like he's almost like just a vessel, right?
We don't
for
know.
the message from like whatever divine thing was using him, right?
Yeah, and it's interesting because we don't ever see him like, you know, we just see him wandering around for a bit in his like in his coat, and then he comes into the studio and he's all disheveled and he's still wearing his coat, and he gives his big speech, and I think it's
great.
One of the best monologues in cinema.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value. So, I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore. I want you to get up right now. Get up, go to your windows, open them, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore. Things have got to change.
How many stations does this go out?
You've got to get mad.
67.
Say,
I know it goes to Louisville and Atlanta.
I'm not going to take this anymore. Then we'll figure out what to do about the depression and the inflation and the oil crisis. But first, get up out of your chairs, open the window, stick your head out and yell, and say, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
Who are you talking to, Herb?
CGG Atlanta.
Are they yelling in Atlanta, Herb?
Are they yelling in Atlanta, Ted?
But first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
They're yelling in Baton Rouge.
Get up out of your...
Son of a bitch! We struck the mother lode!
Stick your head out of the window, open it, then stick your head out and keep yelling and yell, I'm as mad as hell. I'm not going to take this anymore. Just get up from your chairs right now. Go to
Where
the
you
window.
going? I want to see if anybody's
Just go
yelling.
to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell and keep yelling. I'm mad as hell. I'm not going to take this anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, he starts it off and he's like, I don't know what to do about, and then he lists off a bunch of things. Some of those things are literally things that we're dealing with now.
Yeah.
Like, I think he says inflation, the Chinese,
Yep.
the Russians, and maybe a couple other things, but like...
You'll have to, like...
But at least those those are like literally like
yeah, it's like still all the stuff that we're like pretty much dealing with now.
Yeah.
So I think that's like interesting. It's like the film is what, nearly 50 years old, nearly
Yeah.
or so, and it's still sort of like, oh yeah, nothing really has changed. So
yeah. Well, I mean, what he wanted people to do was get mad, and I think a lot of people are now at least awake and mad.
Yeah, but then
like they just go to social media,
right,
and they just vent their anger there.
But this is the thing,
and then that goes nowhere.
Well, this is the thing in the film. He tells people to just open up their window and shout, "I'm mad as hell."
Yeah, Twitter's the same thing.
But it's like you say, it's like, you know, he doesn't tell them to take action necessarily, just shout about it, and it's like, okay, that's all very well, but you know, they need more to do. Like, you know, there's no like march down to, you know, blah blah blah. Or I don't want to obviously encourage people to do anything, but you know what I mean.
Let's not say what I'm thinking. Let's not go there, or else I'll have to edit this video.
Yeah, exactly. But he doesn't sort of like give people any sort of you know, like instruction on what to do. It's just, he's just there saying vocalize it, and that's a lot of what you know you're saying. Like people just nowadays go to social media and.
I'm mad as hell! I'm not gonna take it anymore! I'm not gonna take it anymore! I'm mad as hell!
But like, I'm mad about this, I'm mad about that. It's like, okay, that's all very well, but what you're going to do when it comes to voting, or what you're going to do when it comes to actually making a real difference, and it doesn't seem...
They're probably going to order Uber Eats and get McDonald's at like 1 a.m. and then play video games.
And then whinge about things.
And then whinge about, you know, how dumb the driver was or something.
Yeah. But meanwhile, back to Network. So obviously that speech by Howard Beale gets a lot of attention.
People resonate with it just like they do today. Because that would be like a powerful speech.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like to hear, you know.
Yeah, and I think it's the way he delivers it, you know, and it's like so great about, like, it's just he's talking directly into the camera, and you know, you get like this real sense that something in him, maybe for the very first time in his life, has, you know, been lit up. Like he now has like a sense of purpose. Yeah. And of course, like, it gets the ratings and it gets the studio executives very happy, and it gets a young aspiring studio executive who's played by Faye Dunaway. Let me just try and remember her name. The woman, what's her name? Diane.
Yeah, Diane.
Yeah.
That's right. Yep.
Who
the crazy. She's so like the perfect example of the modern female,
the
that
feminist type of woman who is like, what, career first, you know, everything else
career first,
everything else second, you know. She's like kind of just
no actual values.
No, I
like she will endorse anything for clicks and views.
Yeah,
and
she's very like shallow in that like regard. She doesn't have. You just don't see like where does
like
she stand? What does she stand for?
College educated like marketing woman.
Yeah,
right.
I think like Faye Dunaway does like a really good like job in that role.
Oh yeah.
Like she's
definitely the person that decided like Dylan Mulvaney should be on a Bud Light can. This is like
she's like
that woman.
She's like in tune with what people are talking about. You know, and it's not she's like, if it sells, then it sells. She doesn't, you know. Yeah,
anything for views. We'll try anything.
No, she doesn't have any morals or
just
anything.
Throw shit against the wall and see if it works.
But like people, like I've read like film reviews.
She-Hulk, you know, that would be one of her shows.
Yeah, I've read like film reviews and they're like, oh, she's like a modern woman and that's like really like good. And it's like. Like they're just like sorry. It's kind of like, you know, when we did The Witch and like people were like, oh, it's like a feminist movie, it's really empowering. It's like, why do they keep saying this about like these female characters? Like they're not like empowering to women, they're like showing like femininity in like a bad way, you know, because she doesn't like have anything that makes her like warm or like a caring person. She like destroys a marriage and then like then she's like too caught up in her career to actually care about the relationship that she, you know, claims she wants to have with is it Max Schumer, you know, the guy who's like, you know, friends with Howard Beale, you know, and leaves his family, and it's like
the director, the old guy.
Yeah, he's
the old school guy.
Yeah, he's the division president for the news studio. So you know, she's basically like pays him compliments and stuff, but she's only like, there's no sense of like any love there. She's just using him.
Yeah, she's climbing the ladder.
Yeah.
The old man ladder.
The old man ladder, yeah.
Yeah. And he's totally
it's a modern feminist way, really, you know.
Well,
so,
you know, some would say that, you know, some corporate feminist types like to sleep with their bosses in order to climb the corporate ladder.
Yeah. That's very empowering.
She would be one of those types.
Yeah. So,
right.
But I like the character in terms of like, she's very realistic because you know personally people who are like that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, yeah, it's good to have like women as complicated, messy characters, but I don't think she's something that we should be necessarily, you know, encouraging women to be like, because she's just like, at the end of the movie, you know, she's left alone, and I don't think she has anything apart from.
All right, well, let me throw a hypothetical at you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm the character that is the boss.
Yeah.
And you're the young, attractive female. Would you climb my corporate ladder?
Yeah.
Oh my.
If you want my boss, shut up.
Oh, see, another feminist felt it.
How did you think I got knocked up? Yeah, but the thing is, it's like, you know, where is she? What is she going to do? Like, where was she? She'll just continue to progress, but
yeah,
like, I don't see her character ever having like any satisfaction or like
no, yeah. So would
enjoyment out of life.
Yeah, so I think the best thing about like the dynamic there is so you have Howard Beale. Howard Beale is the old school hard news guy.
Yeah.
He's a part of the old school news network that would go on air and they would lose money, but as a public service, they would tell the public in some sort of fashion. We all know the news has always lied. But they would give them, like, actual news.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they'd be like, here are the world events of the day.
Yeah.
You know, they may put a spin on it for the powers that be. But, like, they would at least give people real news. Right? Which is, like, you know, these bills are going on in Congress. Like, things that actually matter.
Yeah.
Right? Then the other lady, she's representing, like, the, you know, Diane.
Yeah.
She represents soft news.
Yeah.
So, like, she likes, like, the, you know, the car chases.
Yes, the sexy stuff. Like,
the stuff that
exciting.
is now
yeah.
filling the news
She would be
airwaves.
all over the OJ, like,
yeah. It's called
car chase, wouldn't she? She would be, like, so, you know, that whole thing where they all, like...
the white Bronco.
Yeah,
with the glove and all that.
Yeah,
yeah. That would have been, like, you know...
Yeah, she'd be like...
Yeah.
But
right.
this is, that's the thing, it's really strange, like...
But then the boss, right?
Yeah.
The direct boss of them,
yeah,
which was the old man, he was trying to, like, keep it as hard news as possible.
Right.
But also balancing,
yeah,
like, that corporate takeover that was happening above him.
Yeah.
Which was like that, the guy from the Godfather movies. What's his name? Robert Duvall.
Yeah.
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 Because he was like the corporate guy.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, sorry. Max, what's his face? Max Schumer, who is Beale's friend. He wasn't, he was William Holden.
Mm-hmm.
Who was being, sorry, I said
the
Duvall.
ruthless, doesn't care about anything as long as
Duvall's
it's making
Frank
money.
Hatchet or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, what they're showing you there was, like, and he was younger, too, right? Than the guy that she slept with. So, like, what they were kind of showing in Network was, like, the younger, up-and-coming, more powerful crowd was this ruthless, money-hungry... Like, no
ratings
one,
obsessed.
Ratings obsessed, like, they don't care about the public service of the news.
It's interesting because, like, at that period of, like, you know, 1976, you've obviously had, like, a decade worth of stuff from Vietnam on the news. You know, that was, like, the first war to be televised, really.
Yeah.
So that's obviously got ratings in, and then you've had like the JFK assassination, and everyone sort of like obsessed with that, and all the other assassinations which have happened. You know, Martin Luther King and Robert Kennedy, and all that sort of stuff happening live, you know, on air. And then you've had the Watergate scandal, and these are obviously big political things. But the way that they were maybe spun in the media, it's like a television series. It's like, what's going to happen next? And, you know, of course, like you say, it's sort of like once you get into that sort of like serialization of these events happening with like constant updates and stuff. I mean, just look at how that happened in, you know, our society now. And how the news is always like this 24-hour cycle. It's like you know, one big story after another. You need like constant updates and stuff coming out in order to stay relevant, or then your news story will just like, you know, dive bomb and disappear, and you know, be out of the public consciousness.
Hi, I'm Fox San Antonio's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest
responsibility
is to serve our
Treasure Valley communities,
the El Paso, Las Cruces communities,
Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But we are concerned about troubling, irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these stories simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 I mean, look at how, like, certain stories of, like, you know, the Ukraine war was a good one that kept going for a while, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now no one's talking about it. It's just like,
yeah,
you know, disappeared.
Yeah.
Now it's obviously there's stuff happening in Gaza.
Yeah.
But it's like needs to be like constant updates about it in like, and I think COVID was a brilliant one. Or can I mention COVID anymore? Can we talk about?
Yeah, just call it the. Yeah. No, just call it the flu.
Yeah,
You're allowed to talk about the flu.
Oh, I can talk about the flu. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe just like put something over that.
I
like,
know, I'll just beep that out.
Beep. Boop.
Yeah.
The thing that happened between 2020 and on.
It's gone now. I mean.
Yeah, the sniffles.
Except for in the minds of like certain people I see out in public.
Well, that was a good one as well. Like they literally had the death count up on
the screen.
And like, you know, I remember.
I'm surprised they don't have little. I don't want to give them ideas.
No, don't give them ideas. Don't give them ideas unless they pay for us.
You could put the like global temperature, right? Like whatever the average global temperature is, because there must be like a total average global temperature, right? Mm-hmm. And then make the dots for the end like really really long, so you know it's like whatever. Let's say it's 72 degrees, and it's like 0.0000000. So then like you could have the very end ones always going up a little bit. Right?
Yeah.
And then on like hotter days, you could have it going a little bit quicker, right? And then say like as you're doing your little reports on like climate change, you could have it going up like on the screen.
Yeah.
Right? And people could be like, "Oh my god, I see the global temperature going up."
We're going to start focusing mainly on climate. Climate, like global warming, and like that's going to be our next like I don't know, like what's the word I'm looking for? It's going to be our focus. Our focus was to get Trump out of office, right? Without saying it, that's what it was, right? So our next thing is going to be for climate change awareness.
So that's like the next
pandemic like story like that will beat to death. But that one's got longevity. You know what I mean? It's not like there's a definitive ending to the pandemic, or you know, like it'll taper off to a point that it's not a problem anymore. Probably think it's going to take years, so they'll probably be able to milk that for quite a bit.
That'll get them scared.
It'd be like the death count thing. But, I mean, these are bad ideas. Don't anyone tell the Illuminati any of this. Some Illuminati FBI handler right now is listening to me being like, I'm getting a promotion this month.
But yeah, like, it's interesting to see how, even though you say it's like soft news, it's still like, it's not really necessarily portrayed like that a lot of the time. It's still very much like made out to be hard news. Like,
yes.
So
there's lots of examples of that. It's like, can you spot the advertisement?
Right.
Right.
This is
That's the news. That's an ad. That's the news. That's an ad. That's the news. That's an ad. That's an ad. That's the news. Oh no, wait, that's an ad for cat food. My bad.
Jesus Christ, he's off the charts.
the thing that in fact, like, amazes me about America. So obviously the UK is like completely different, but you literally have like advertisements as in news.
Yeah, disguised as news reports. Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, that's just weird. It's like, why are we suddenly talking about like a mop or something? And I don't know why a mop came to my head, but you know what I mean. Like, it's just so bizarre. Whereas, I mean, you don't really have like, you all have people sat around like the desk.
Yeah.
But in the UK, it's like, it's a bit more casual, like the BBC sort of thing. They're sat on like on a sofa.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Oh, that's better. I've seen your BBC news. It's very funny. Remember the guy that used to haul out of the closet in the morning to do the weather? On the BBC News, they have some poor man who does the weather, and they store him in the closet all night. And they drag him out in the morning to do the weather.
I know, it just looks like he's been sleeping in his suit. It's like...
And he's so happy to be let out. He's like, yay, it's weather time.
It's time, I'm free. Like 30 seconds, and he's like desperately trying to blink to like get a message out to his wife and children at home. Like, send help.
Like, back in that closet, Danny.
Shove him back in. But yeah, it's so. But there is.
We're talking about the movie Network, by the way.
Yeah. If you just joined us, I don't know what you
would
do.
It's a Network movie review.
If you just joined us, you're like 20 minutes in, and you just skip forward to this bit. Yeah.
This is the best new movie podcast on the internet, in case you didn't know.
So yeah, I mean, we're laughing about it, but the state of the news at the moment is like really depressing.
Yes.
And I think it's like, I don't know, is it going to get better? Will it ever improve? I mean, nowadays I think it's got to a point where it's even worse in lots of ways, because you're not only competing with like cable news now, you have obviously the stuff on the internet. And you have like news, news shows, you know, in the form of InfoWars. So, and all that sort of bullshit that you have like some.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean, though. Yes.
You know, and they disguise themselves as news presenters.
Reading the news.
Certain people, I don't know if we're allowed to mention them. You know. People who like to have cat boys, you know?
America First, Nick Fuentes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally wears a suit.
Yes.
You know, sits like he's
in
behind
front of
a green screen.
With the Empire State Building lit up in the Israeli colors for the day that they set the Empire State Building up to be blue and white, which is interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, he's, you know, these type of people present themselves in a way that anyone who wasn't aware of who they were and just happened to come across them, you would be fooled into thinking that they were they were newscasters, and I think that's a dangerous thing to do. But that's just how we've thought, you know, we've seen, you know, we've been brought up to think anyone sat behind a desk reading the news and in a suit is someone to be trusted, you know?
Yeah.
Why would they ever lie to us about anything? You know, well, they're the news, right? So...
Yeah.
And I think Network is interesting because it's like, even though I think Howard Beale is saying a lot of truth, but he gets corrupted, right?
Yeah, so he gets brought into the meeting with the guys who own the news organization.
Yeah.
So
And they're not too happy with him because obviously his show gets popular, and his show gets popular, but it gets really weird because they have like all of these different like subcategories of like somebody is a psychic and other things happening in it, and it's like it becomes almost like a circus.
Exactly. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Network News Hour with Sybil the Soothsayer. Jim Webbing, and it's the Emma Struth Department. Miss Mata Hari and her skeletons in the closet. Tonight, another segment of Vox Populi. And starring the mad prophet of the airways, Howard
Beale. But, you know, people aren't necessarily tuning in for the so-and-so, the truth sayer or whatever it is, or the tuning in for Howard, and they are actually beginning to, you know, question things. And then he starts going off about this takeover by the Saudis. And of course that spells trouble for this, you know, the news corporation.
Yeah, because they're trying to finalize a deal with a bigger corporation to sell the news network. So basically the people that run the monetary system are doing their thing. Yeah. And Howard is now getting in the way of that.
He's getting a bit too close to the truth.
Yeah.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature, Mr. Beale, and I won't have it. Is that clear? You think you merely stopped a business deal? That is not the case. The Arabs have taken billions of dollars out of this country, and now they must put it back. It is ebb and flow, tidal gravity. It is ecological balance.
Yes, a little too close to the truth, exactly.
Yeah.
So they bring him in for the big meeting.
The big sit down.
The big sit down, and they explain to him what?
There are no countries. There are no borders. It's just about money, exchanging money.
Yeah.
And basically, it's, you know,
because Howard was worried about the Saudis taking over the news network, right?
And then you know, he's trying to say about American values and American traditions being taken over and, you know, essentially being corrupted by a foreign influence. And then he basically gets told, like, yeah, that's gonna happen, but there is no real American traditions. There are no values. We don't see it in that way.
Yeah.
You know, we are the bankers. We know there is only one truth, and that is money.
Yeah. Like
You are an old man who thinks in terms of nations and peoples. There are no nations. There are no peoples. There are no Russians. There are no Arabs. There are no third worlds. There is no West. There is only one holistic system of systems. One vast and immane, interwoven, interacting, multivariate, multinational dominion of dollars. Petrodollars, electrodollars, multi-dollars, Reichmarks, Rins, rubles, pounds, and shekels.
Like, basically that...
It's a very scary scene.
Yeah, he basically sits him down as like, you know, you're not going to stop what's happening. The monetary system runs all of these things. The countries don't even really exist. It's not the Saudis taking over something in America. It's really the ebb and flow of the Saudis need to give back because they were given so much money, so now they're pumping money back in through this kind of like money laundering thing
Yeah.
of buying a company that's failing.
Mhm.
Like it's just like how they run like the monetary system. And the interesting thing about that talk is if you apply that to what's actually going on in the world and you watch, for instance, if you watch what the bankers are doing at the higher levels,
Yeah.
you see them doing, which I showed in my documentary I just released, which is doing really good.
Yeah,
The
it's
Belt
that
and-
little plug-in.
Yeah, the little Belt and Road Wars documentary I just put out.
Finding the link.
Yes.
Below.
You'll find that in the link down below.
Below.
But basically in that, and I used the clip from this scene from Network in that because basically, like, if you look, they're restructuring the planet through these massive infrastructure deals that are funded by the World Bank, right?
Yeah.
Where, like, Russia, China, Israel, Iran, Palestine, like, they're all a part of the infrastructure deal. Like, huge hundreds of billions of dollars going into these deals that help all of these countries, and they're all working together on this. But then, if you look in the news, you know, Israel is fighting Gaza, right? They just had the big Hamas invasion, right? Even though Israel created Hamas in the first place, right? So it's just like this whole, like,
Yeah.
you know, like, it's just like they said, there is no countries. It's just about the monetary system, and they create these wars
Right.
as, like, part of that, like, ebb and flow of things and destroying countries to bring in big infrastructure deals. It's, and when you're like an average citizen looking at it, you can't make heads or tails of what's going on.
Right.
You're like, what the hell is all this? Like, why are the Chinese and the Russian,
Yeah.
you know, like he said at the beginning, but when you see the bigger picture, as they explain to Howard Beale, then you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And then he goes from, like, because he then learns that truth, right? And the bankers basically, like, brainwash him into telling their message.
Yeah, they're like, you know, basically, you'll continue with your program.
Yeah, you
And
keep
you'll
doing
do
your
what-
program.
Do what we say, tell them what we tell you to say, you know, and
Yeah.
like the ratings start
Dropping. Because the average citizen
but they won't get rid of him.
doesn't want to hear what the bankers
Yeah.
want the people to hear.
Mhm.
So, like, they try to use this guy that had grown, like, organic prosperity, and then they start having him spew their message, and then he starts losing popularity.
Yeah, it's really interesting because you can sort of like there are like
It's kind of like Alex
I
Jones
was
a
just
little bit in a
gonna say
way.
you can sort of see like comparisons with certain people. You know when they like become big and they balloon up and they like overnight, and then you know you're like, oh yeah, I can
Resonate with them,
yeah, and then it's almost like like they do have this like meeting where they get pulled in and like suddenly they're like changing their like whole stance on certain things, and like, you know, whether it's like a celebrity or it's, you know, who suddenly starts saying things and then suddenly has to you know, do an act of public humiliation type of thing, and then walk back what they said. I'm like, oh no, that's not what I meant. You know,
Yeah,
but
like
it's-
Kanye West.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
His little recent.
Yeah.
And now he's married to, like, some Jewish handler.
Who knows what's going
Named
on?
Bianca, I believe.
Oh.
I believe his wife's name is Bianca.
Oh dear.
So it happened to me, the MI6 sent a redhead handler. They knew my weakness.
Yeah.
They had all my search results, you know.
But I mean, that scene in Network is really interesting because it's like it doesn't feel, you're almost like you're not expecting the movie to go there, right?
Yeah.
And I think like a lot of it has been misinterpreted. Like people have been like, oh, it's like very anti-capitalism and it's going on about that, and it's like, well, it's not necessarily like
It's not really about capitalism.
No, it's not about capitalism.
It's about the world banking system.
Yeah, it's
and
very
it's about
naive to say, oh, it's purely
corporate
about
takeover of the news.
It's like very naive to say it's just about capitalism, because it's bigger than that. It's like a global thing, and it's not just about American capitalism. It's like it's too complex to just simply say this movie is very anti-capitalist, because you're not really like describing what, you know.
Well, it's certainly not pro-communist, because they show how, like, so they have like the lady and she's looking for views, right?
Yeah.
And then what does she go out and she finds?
She finds like a Black Panther sort of.
But what are they? They're communist.
Yeah, and
right. They're South American.
Yeah.
They're like a South American communist front.
Yeah.
That's like robbing banks to fund their communist revolution.
We're not sitting still for overhead charges as a cost prior to distribution.
Dog, fuck with my distribution costs. I'm making a lousy $2.15 per segment. I'm already deficiting $25,000 a week with Metro. I'm paying William Morris 10% off the top. And I'm giving this turkey $10,000 per segment, another $5 for this fruitcake. And Helen, don't start no shit with me about a piece again. I'm paying Metro 20% for all foreign and Canadian distribution, and that's after recoupment. The Communist Party's not going to see a nickel out of this goddamn show until we go into syndication.
Oh, come on, Lorraine. The party's in for $7,500 a week production expense.
I'm not.
It's actually happening at the time. There was that famous. They kidnapped that. Who I can't remember who did. Patty someone? Do you know?
Oh yeah, some famous American got kidnapped.
Yeah,
and
socialite, and then they basically like brainwashed her, or well, did they brainwash her, or was she like how much was she like cooperating with them, and she went around robbing
Or is
banks?
it all just a big psyop? Who knows?
Yeah, but of course, like, you know, Diana's not thinking. She's not like on board with them. She doesn't really care about their beliefs, or she, you know, she's not trying to give them a platform because she's like fully intoxicated with like what they believe in.
Yeah.
She just wants. She knows it all sell. Yeah.
Yeah, she knows it's gonna get views because it's like bank robberies.
Yeah,
and
like it's
communism and like you know
like
these like
all
things. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like what all the cool kids are into.
Right. So like, and it just shows like. And the communists are totally fine with it. They're totally fine with working a big corporation.
Exactly.
And you know using them to get money.
It's
and
funny.
then,
They go to like have a meeting with like the leader, the guy there in the house.
Yeah.
Charges.
Man, give her the fucking overhead clause.
Let's get back to page 22. 5, small a, subsidiary rights.
Where are we now?
Page 22, middle of the page, subsidiary rights. As used herein, subsidiary rights means, without limitation, any and all rights.
And it's like, you know...
And he's like just playing a role.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't really care. They don't have any actual communist values.
No, exactly.
Right?
It's like...
It's ridiculous.
It's very interesting because it's like predicting like the grifting sort of thing.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
the whole like everybody's a star, everyone's a celebrity sort of thing, you know, in like, you know, the reality TV sort of way, you know, but it's even worse now because, you know, you have the likes of TikTok, so, you know, you can get millions of views and you have you know, you can become like famous in that regard for just
being horrible.
A horrible person, you know? So it kind of predicted that sort of like weird thing that we are suddenly like narcissistic, you know, self-obsessed society where, you know, it's all about clickbait and, you know, views and stuff. So, yeah, and of course she uses that, you know, once Howard Beale starts to lose ratings again, they're like, well, we've got to get him off the air somehow.
Yeah.
So let's use a little communist friends to bump him off.
Live on air.
Live on air because, you know,
That's got to be a first.
That's got to be a first. That's like, you know, a live assassination. And it's like...
So what do we do about this Beale son of a bitch?
I suppose we'll have to kill him. I don't suppose you have any ideas on that, Diana.
Well, what would you fellas say to an assassination?
Network news anchorman on the UBS Network News Show, known to millions as the Mad Prophet of the airwaves, was shot to death tonight in a fusillade of automatic rifle fire just as he began this evening's broadcast.
Really
dark
and like a crazy ending, and
but it's also pretty funny.
It's funny, but it's like...
It's definitely comedic.
Yeah, because it's so absurd.
Yeah,
but it's not really, because, like I've said, you know, we've had all sorts of stuff actually happen live on air, you know?
Yeah.
And, like, I mean, we've had 9/11. I mean, that all happened live on air, you know?
Mm-hmm.
We've had all the other stuff. We've had, you know, assassinations being captured live on air and stuff like that. And, you know, it's how much has happened just purely for views.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Network. It's a good film. It is a good film. I mean, I can't see it be a film that could necessarily be made today. Do you know what I mean?
No, it shouldn't even be made today.
No, it's just so, and it feels so like fresh and relevant.
Yeah.
Even though it was like made in 1976, and I think like even the moments where you have more of a human sort of like melodrama aspect to the movie, like obviously the whole Diane and Max relationship, and he goes to tell his wife that, you know, he's wants a divorce, and she's really sort of like, you know, sort of, I don't know, just like, you're gonna throw this all away type of thing. But it's like a very reserved type of thing. There's no sort of like big fight or anything like that. But that's what kind of is interesting. It's like, there's so much drama happening in these characters' lives that when they have their own dramatic moments, it's like they've just been stripped of any emotion, you know?
Yeah.
So, and like I say, in the end, like, nobody really comes out of it in any, like, as any winner or victor. Everybody's like a victim, you know, even if they're not fully aware of it.
Yeah.
They're all being exploited in some fashion, you know?
Yeah, basically, yeah. Except for the bankers, who are
well, you know, they got what they wanted,
exploiting everyone below them.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah,
and they have like their head henchman guy who's like that. Duvall character. What's his name in the movie? Doesn't matter. Frank. Yeah.
Yeah.
They have him like as their head, like,
yeah,
you know, corporate like scumbag type character.
I know, it's like none of the characters are like really.
I think because if you're gonna
way.
get to that level in that part of society, you have to be like that Diane character to climb the ladder. Like, who the hell wants to be like that?
Well, she's not happy at all.
No,
she's just like, when we see her, she's like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's just like no way to live.
There's like that really weird, awkward sex scene where she's just like...
She's sleeping with like old men.
And she's like still talking to him, and then like she finishes super quick, and that's it. It's like, okay. It's like, wow. It's like, how exciting must your life be? You know? But
I think personally, I think she did that 'cause she just didn't want to have sex with the guy for too long.
Yeah, there was like no,
Right.
she really didn't want to like.
He's like, okay, that was good. See ya.
Yeah, but she was
Yeah.
just trying to
Like, come
use
on
him.
But
But
like, oh, remember to give me my show or whatever.
yeah,
You know? So
yeah. I mean, what do you think overall about Network? Do you feel like it predicted did it predict stuff, or was there like did the screenwriter necessarily know what was coming? Were they fully aware of what was shaping up with the news? Because obviously I think
I'm not sure what year it was made.
Yeah, I feel like CNN was created in 1978 or something, like shortly after Network. I would have to bear with me. Like,
was it?
Do just bear with me.
So what year was Network made?
76.
So and CNN was like 2 years later.
Yeah, I feel like that's the case, but I could be wrong. Well, it was founded in 1980, so yeah, you know,
Okay, yeah.
like
So
4
like
years
basically like
before.
I think it was sometime towards the late 60s
Mm.
where news stations started realizing you could make money on the news instead of just losing money.
Yeah.
So it was like an entire change across like the news stations across like the entire like industry.
Mhm.
Where like and that's probably what spawned CNN later was because once by the late 70s this had
just joined us.
Brutus. Welcome. So basically, by the late 70s, it basically completely changed, which could allow for something like CNN
and
to
of
come into
course,
existence.
Interestingly,
Right.
you also have around this time, you have the newspapers changing, right?
Yeah.
So you have like Murdoch buying up News of the World, which
Mhm.
was like a straight broadsheet paper. It wasn't a tabloid, but he
Yeah.
made it into like the tabloid that it became, you know, with all the you know, buying the Sun newspaper in the UK and making it, and then going to buy the New York Post.
And Rupert Murdoch.
Of course, founded Fox News.
Yeah, and he's like one of the like powers that be insiders, good friends with people like Henry Kissinger. He probably attends things like the Bilderberg meetings.
Yes.
Which is why Fox
He's one of
News
those,
doesn't
like-
talk about things like the Bilderberg meetings.
Yeah, he's
okay?
like one of those old men that basically doesn't die.
Yes.
It's like
there's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
They're like vampire
And they're
class.
like, seriously. But yeah, so you have like this real shift from at the time of like the news being, you know, some old man behind a desk just telling you, hello, today so happened. And
but
now it's
it
like,
went from hard news in the 60s to by the late 70s, it's like at least 70 to 80% soft news.
But do you think like,
now?
Yeah. Do you think like
Like when they're telling you about like, oh, some criminal did this today, that's soft news.
Britney
When they're telling
Spears
you
did,
like
you know,
about some product, that's
Yeah.
soft news.
Yeah.
And they're telling you about
the
any celebrity
human-
at all.
The human interest story.
Yeah,
you know?
human interest stories. Like that's all soft news stuff. That's all that is.
and it's like, does that really like help you with your everyday life? Like, do you need to know about this
No.
stuff? Like, I don't necessarily like care about, you know, Britney Spears and what she is up to and that sort of stuff. But you find yourself like being sucked into this weird.
But the average IQ in America is far below yours. So basically, like those people with the low IQ, they don't want to know hard news. They want to wake up and hear about Britney Spears flashing knives, or they want to hear
like,
about
what is going on there? That's
like
really
you know what I
bizarre.
mean. Like they don't care about like what the in-depth analysis of like Israel versus Palestine is and how
Because
it is involved in the Belt and Road Initiative.
No, it's because
right?
they just all this stuff
Like-
is like it's complicated, and to actually
and there's nothing they can do about it.
To it,
Yeah.
you have to like actually research things, and it's out there. Like you can,
I'm not even sure some people would understand it. Like I
Right.
think there's some people in our society that are low IQ and just wouldn't be able to process the information. Honestly.
Yeah.
Like I really do think that like these like 70 IQ people can't process like geopolitics.
I think
know.
most people can't unless you actually, like I say, devote a lot of time to it and research it and read through all the stuff, and a lot of it is like it's always disguised, in the way that it's presented. It's all very, you got to read between the lines, like it's a lot of it's like numbers and statistics and stuff, and like nobody wants to deal with that. That's
and comprehension in America, which is one of the most advanced countries in the world, is the 3rd grade level.
Oh, that's scary.
On average.
Wow.
So like, and what do you think that's going up or down with everyone?
I really, I don't want to know. It's
a
really troubling thing to think about.
They're just above Maddie, like
Oh,
my daughter.
yeah.
Like they read just a little bit better than her.
Oh no.
That's not good. That's your average citizen.
That's not good.
That's what we're dealing with out there.
Please
That's
read
why
more.
when people are in like line in
Please
front of
read
you
more.
and they can barely order, it's like they can barely read the menu.
I wish people
Okay.
people should read more. There's like definitely great books out there to read, and great films to watch. Like you know, like Network.
So,
which
anyways,
has been a review of.
well, Network's kind of like one of these movies that is very predictive of the society that we would be in the future, and it resonates so much with us because of the situation we're now in.
Yeah, I just wanted
Like-
to say, put something towards you. So when Howard Beale gets his show, and he's obviously got all the other people on there, like there's the truth teller or whatever it is, but the way he's presented, with like the church stained window behind him, you can picture the set that it is.
Yeah.
That's obviously like the studio are trying to, the News Corporation are trying to push him as like a messiah type of character.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the filmmakers are just trying to say how like religion has become exploited?
Oh yeah.
In modern,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
I just thought it was like an interesting
because they
observation.
knew, like, based on the things that he was saying, that the Christian right would resonate with what he was saying. So they just marketed it to that. They were like, put in some glass stained windows.
Yeah, get him dressed like it was
And
like
look at everyone that is like a so-called truther.
They all claim to be
all LARP as Christians.
Right.
Even though they're like constantly
going against that
not
sort of, like
acting like good Christians. But they like LARP as that.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to say that like I'm the perfect Christian, but
No.
like
Right.
I'm not Alex.
know.
I'm not Alex Jones who's gotten like lap dances from Blair White. Okay.
No, but I mean, a lot of them do. A lot of this is kind of like you see it with politicians all the time. Like they pretend to be. Well, I don't know if they pretend. They might be, but they obviously say one thing and then do another. Like.
Yeah.
I mean, how like Joe Biden? He's supposedly a Catholic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but
yeah,
like,
that's true. Technically.
Yeah, and also, it's not just like likes of the people on the left, but you said the people on the right.
Yeah.
And I think it's still interesting that even in today's society, where obviously lots, the numbers of people who are identify as Christian have dropped dramatically. There's still people who, try to invoke that, as the someone who is a a preacher, delivering a, it's, like delivering the truth through religious,
Yeah. I mean, I think there are people that are honest about, like, delivering the truth through that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think everyone that is,
No, I think, but it's obviously something that's ingrained in our, like, consciousness, that we associate, like, the truth being, like, in a religious setting, and also the truth being, someone dressed in a suit behind a desk. And I wonder, like, are we ever going to reach a point where that changes and we associate, someone telling the truth or providing us with the true news and information as in another form, in another style?
I think they are, and I think they are doing it right now. They're hitting like and subscribe on this video. They're saying, we're getting our true information from uncensored cinephiles. And they're not wearing suits.
No.
They're wearing pregnant bellies.
I'm wearing a smock, as it's called.
So
I'm wearing a hippie smock.
A hippie smock.
Yeah.
Cartman's going to lock you up in his basement. All right, thank you all for watching. This has been our review of Network.
Oh, yeah.
And I think B will be uploading a bunch of videos to the channel.
I will be. I'll be a bit more active on this channel. I'm going to be discussing I found some interesting things that I will be bringing to the channel, but mostly it's stuff about, like, lost movies and iceberg of lost movies, and going through them and discussing them in a bit more detail, which I think people might find fascinating. It's obviously different to the content that we do here, but I think there's, like, a lot of it can be tied into conspiracy and in lots of ways, and, like, why certain movies haven't been released.
Yeah, it should be great.
Yeah, and of course, like, there'll be we've got a ton of films that we want to review.
And we have another movie meme mayhem maybe coming up.
Potentially.
So make sure to check out for the live streams and things like that.
Yeah, and the Halloween as well. We've got to get something planned for Halloween.
Oh yeah, definitely let us know what movies you want us to review for Halloween. We'll have to do a special Halloween movie review. So any scary or very spooky movies.
I don't know. Don't give us anything too scary. I don't know.
Super scary.
No. Give us something funny, like a funny, scary movie.
Very scary.
Not a scary one.
And then everyone vote on which movie is the best. So whichever proposal gets the most likes in the comments, that'll be the movie we review for Scary Halloween. So thank you all for watching our Network review.
I don't think we should give people the choice. I don't want people going to recommend something really horrible and I'm not going to be able to watch it.
All right, everybody. The choice is yours. Do you torture B or do you make her happy?
Make me happy.
We'll see you in the comments. Thank you all for watching. This has been the Network Deep Dive on Uncensored Cinephiles. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.